Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about decorating mistakes that make your home look cheap and tacky, but I'm going to offer some solutions on how to correct those. Okay, shears are actually meant to be used in conjunction with regular drapery panels. If you choose to use sheer drapery panels on the ends of your windows, the overall look is too weak to support the architecture of your space, okay? The fabric is just too thin. So you want to think about just using regular drapery panels in a cotton, a velvet, a silk, a linen would be great. It just has a little bit more weight to the fabric and it elevates the entire look of the space, and it's more in proportion to the weight of the architecture, if that makes sense. I also never use grommet style drapes. I think they're really only appropriate in a child or a teen bedroom because they just look juvenile and cheap, to be honest. Too many pieces of furniture that are really heavy. There's not enough diversity in the proportion of the furniture, okay? Sofas and love seats don't go together. Already that is just too much. Everything is sort of crammed to face the television. There's no conversational seating set up and the overall look just comes off as cheap and tacky. So a way to kind of combat that is to choose your sofa. That's the most important piece in the room. Maybe a matching armchair would be okay. And then throwing in that wild card. You always want a fun chair. You always want that other accent chair to be different in terms of shape and material than your main seating. So if you have a, square shaped, low to the ground sofa in a linen material, your fun chair should be sculptural, that's a little bit different. And that will immediately create more balance in the space because everything is not the same size and weight. And you always want to think about having one chair that does not face the television. That will make the room feel balanced because you're taking advantage more of the overall space rather than trying to cram a lot of huge things together to all face the same direction. People that don't have a coffee table usually don't have one because the existing furniture arrangement already feels like it's not working. But the coffee table also helps to ground and define the seating arrangement. So you want to have a coffee table that is in proportion, most importantly, to the sofa. And the biggest mistake I see people make with coffee tables is when they choose a sectional sofa. If you have a sectional sofa, 9 times out of 10, you have to use a round coffee table and you can only have one other accent chair. That's the only way to lay out a room with a sectional, okay? This usually tends to be people that want to fill every single wall of the space, okay? So they've got pillars and matching chairs and matching drapery and matching everything. And what happens is that there's just too many things going on in the room and there's no negative space. You actually sometimes need to have asymmetry in a home to make it interesting and dynamic. So symmetry on its own is a good thing, but having repeats of everything, multiples all over the space, it's just too much for the eye to handle. And it just doesn't come off as looking pleasing to the eye. Next mistake is having fake plants and an abundance of decor on the top of your kitchen cabinets. This to me is just dust collectors. I think some people have a hard time allowing negative space to be present in their home. They feel like, oh, it's an empty space above the kitchen cabinets. I want to fill it up. The real goal with putting something at that height is that you want the room to feel bigger and you want the eye to go up. So an alternative would be to focus on kitchen lighting. Adding pendants over an island, for example, would bring your eye up. Adding a Roman shade over your kitchen sink window would bring the eye up. Placing a plant in the corner, hanging from the ceiling in a plant hanger would help bring the eye up. And then allowing that space above the kitchen cabinets just to kind of breathe and not necessarily be filled tends to look more elegant and high-end when you add in those other solutions. So the eye likes odd and even numbers together, okay? So if you have 3 pendants over your kitchen island, you need to have 4 bar stools. If you have 2 pendants over your island, you need to have 3 bar stools. When you do the equal amounts, it's kind of like the matchy-matchy. It feels too equal and you need like smaller and then wider You know what I mean? Like the wider thing should be on the bottom because that's the weight. Weight needs to go on the bottom and then the lighter thing on the top. Next mistake making your home look cheap and tacky is when the furniture is not centered on the architecture. If you have a living room with a fireplace, you need to put something that is directly on center of that fireplace. So that could just be placing the sofa, whether it's floating in the room or against the wall, directly on center of the fireplace and then building out from there. If you don't put your sofa facing exactly the fireplace, you might put that on one side. You can put your sideboard directly across from the architecture. You always have to line things up, not everything, but certain things, because the eye wants to see things centered. I always say on this channel, every room should have at least 5 textures. That's just a very simplified way of saying you need something shiny, you need something matte, you need something rough. The more diversity in your textures, the more alive the room becomes. So when I see this a lot in home tours where everybody's buying almost everything for their home on Amazon. Okay, so you don't want a shiny velvet accent chair with crystal tufted details and lucite legs and a shiny white table and a lucite accent table. It just comes off as looking very, very cheap and tacky. If you were to wear an entire outfit of cheap quality fabric, it's really obvious to the eye and the whole look goes down, okay? So if you love that glammy, stylish, kind of shiny look, you can still achieve that, but you have to add some other still glamorous, but not as shiny materials in. So you could do actual brass, details with candlesticks and brass legs on coffee tables. You could do a polished marble accent table. You could do a high quality faux fur pillow. You can do a better quality velvet accent chair. Don't do anything with crystal tufting. Study glamorous rooms that are high end and kind of notice how they do the shiny look without it being overly shiny and tacky. I would never in my life buy a furniture set, whether that's a matching bedroom set or a matching living room set. It is never cool. It will never be stylish, and it always comes off cheap and tacky. And the irony is that you can actually pay good money for a furniture set, but it's never going to look good because there's no personality in it. It's too matchy. And again, what makes it an interesting room in interior design is diversity, is having different textures, is having different materials together, is having different proportions together. So when you get an entire furniture set, you're actually reducing the amount of texture that you have in that room down to under 5, and that actually adds to your home not looking stylish or expensive at all. Looks cheap and tacky. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with my list? Are there things I should have included? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Are you guilty of any of the above? Don't kill me. Thanks for watching, guys, and more to come. See you in the next one. Bye.